Welcome to the Goodwood Show.
Welcome everyone to another show of the Goodwood Show, another big episode today after the holidays with JW from Solana Spaces, the second life of Solana Spaces, let's say. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
So, do you want to do a little intro on you? How did you come from PlayStation to the Solana Spaces? I imagine it's a long journey.
Yeah. It's been a winding road, but yeah, I worked at PlayStation for about 4 years, doing internal strategy, stuff like that. I worked on the PlayStation 5 launch, console launch. And as many big corporations do, there was a lot of like reshuffling and reorganizations. And so what I started out doing eventually became, my team did very different things. So I was able to be very creative and working on a lot of different projects early on. And then our team kind of started to veer towards more of like business intelligence, stuff like that, which is not really my passion or anything like that. So I left to start a startup with a friend of mine, which was it was like the esports adjacent gaming content platform. We ran for about a year. We had a partnership with Riot Games. Went generally well, but we did that for about a year, started to wrap it up. And towards the end of it, we were exploring some pivots. And one of those pivots was token gated content. So that kind of got me interested in the crypto ecosystem. I'd had a Coinbase account since like 2017, but nothing much beyond that. So, once we wound down the startup, actually got a job at a wallet on Solana called Slope Wallet. I don't know if you remember Slope Wallet, but
old school. I didn't use it, but I remember.
Yeah, old school. It was, it was actually really big during the NFT boom. There was an auto approve feature that people were using for NFT mints, and so they were.
That was really important. Important
back in those days. And then as happens with so many crypto projects, sadly, there was an exploit. Everything went down the drain, and I was on like the content marketing partnership side. We were trying to get information from the executive team and we weren't really getting a ton of stuff. So we just kind of left it there. But, I went from trying to plan Twitter Spaces with like Anatoly and Yatsu from Animoca and things like that to being on calls in the middle of the night with crisis teams and things like that. So it was a wild and somewhat appropriate first job in crypto, but I got to experience a lot of different aspects of the ecosystem really early on. It was a Solana focused but a wallet, so I kind of dove into the Solana ecosystem. I was really drawn by the fast, cheap, scalable, community oriented. Just seemed like a place that was ripe for innovation and being able to build a lot of cool stuff on, and that is luckily proven true, and only getting more true by the day. So after that, I kind of spent some time just getting to know the ecosystem. I learned by doing. So I joined a bunch of NFT communities and minted and bag held and round tripped and all the things that forged us in the fires of the NFT bull run. A little bit later, I got a job with AssetDash, building out their Solana community. They were mostly ETH based at the time, so I was able to, bring them over to Solana, introduce them, build partnerships with a lot of different Solana communities. After that, I just kind of consulted for a while. I was working on a lot of different projects as like a solo consultant, and then January of last year, Solana Space, I had the opportunity to kind of take the mantle and reignite Solana Spaces. So we started, working towards our first pop-up in May of last year at Accelerate in New York, and the rest is history.
Yeah, that's good. That's a nice way to start with a wallet that just drained a lot of people at some point, or was some hack or was something. I remember that it was I think I was in Poland on the Hacker House, and then everyone was like, "Oh my!" A lot of wallets got trained, and that at that time people were not even using that wallet anymore. It was just because that the original private key was created on your
there were some other wallets that got drained at the time, but it was because it was if you had a Slope wallet and you imported those keys.
Yeah,
it was like if there was like an wallet import, then it was compromised, and it was an absolute nightmare. Still, like nobody told us what happened. Like it was, that was a wild time in the space, and being new to crypto, it's just like, oh my god, this is very different from any of my previous experiences. But
I used to use AssetDash a lot when you guys moved to Solana. It's kind of doing, I think they were doing the same thing as Step Finance there, where you could see the portfolio, right? And then AssetDash got acquired by Jupiter, and there is now the portfolio of Jupiter, right? Or maybe I'm confusing.
No, Jupiter acquired a different, I forget. I think it might have been Step Finance that Jupiter acquired, and then, or maybe it was something Jupiter. It wasn't AssetDash that Jupiter acquired. They acquired someone else to do their portfolio tracking. But same concept, and you could track assets across Web 2 and Web 3. It was kind of like a holistic portfolio tracker thing, and they were trying to do some like credit card style rewards system and stuff. I don't know what they're doing now, but yeah, it was again, I got to work with a ton of different people from a ton of different communities, and it was really that and working at Slope too, like were really instrumental in starting out my journey, like building a network in the Solana Spaces. But
exactly. Yes,
it's and like especially in Solana, I think the network that you have, and like the more people you can meet and talk to and understand, it just is so valuable, because there's such a collaborative spirit here that you never know what connections are going to lead to what, and who that might be able to help this person or vice versa. So I'm a big believer in kind of paying it forward, and I always maybe to a fault try to help people as much as I can, and sometimes you get taken advantage of, and sometimes it works out. So
it is part, and it's, I think it's the same as in Web 2, right? It's sometimes you try your best, and then someone just take advantage of you. And then the way you got into Web3, was that really your first choice, or was like your second choice, like, oh, there's nothing else, let's try this?
Honestly, I don't remember. I remember being very intrigued by by crypto. Like when I first heard about Ethereum, I'd known about Bitcoin. When I first heard about Ethereum, like the concept of a smart contract, I was like, that's brilliant. Like that is so cool. Like it's just, it makes sense. It makes sense. And like the things that this can unlock are limitless. And that was about as far as I got for a while. But then when we started exploring these pivots, and we were looking for jobs and talking to people, and this was my former co-founder and I, like, the more I learned about it, I was like, this is really interesting. And there's a lot of, the fact that you can build like a content platform or an NFT project or like anything in between was really fascinating to me. It was like this blue sky ecosystem where you can build anything. So, I don't remember if it was like my first choice. I certainly wasn't like dead set on it, but I was very happy and excited to be able to jump in and learn about it, because it was just brand new technology, seemed like it had a lot of promise and all that. So,
and then did you have any background before you started La Solana Spaces on merch or even organizing in real life events? And
not really. I mean, I had a marketing background. A lot of what I was doing at PlayStation was more on the quantitative side, strategic side. So I had like brands experience, go to market experience there. And then with the startup, the beautiful thing about startups is you kind of have to do everything. So I got to learn a lot about a lot of things running the startup. And so, I didn't really have like event experience. I'd been to a lot of events. I knew what worked, knew what didn't work, personally. And we've learned a lot from our first event to to now. Like a lot of stuff went right the first time, but a lot of stuff didn't. So we were able to to learn and iterate and really understand how how things work, what resonates with people. But ultimately, it just comes down to understanding the community, understanding your audience, and really the more you can put yourselves in their shoes and realize what they want, what's been missing, I think the better off these events will be. And I think the reason our first couple events really succeeded was we had created this community space where people could meet. Like, people are going to these new cities, they're traveling to new cities, they haven't seen their friends in forever, and being able to see two people who hadn't been in the same city for a year see each other for the first time in a long time, give each other a big hug, like that. Every time you see that, it's just like rewarding. And so being able to offer that atmosphere for that was really rewarding, and also like validating to what we were doing. And so we've kind of been using that as a North Star of sorts for every event since. We want to make it feel like a home away from home for the Solana community.
It's like a hub for networking, right?
Yeah.
A little bit, right? So
Yeah.
Facilitating the communication between everyone. When some people probably never met before face to face, and
exactly.
And
and even those people will give each other a big hug. Like, it's such a global space that I have friends in Africa, I have friends in New Zealand, I have friends all over the world that I've never met or have since met. And how else are you gonna meet people like that? It's just crazy. So people you've been talking to for years, you finally meet in person, and it's like you're reuniting with an old friend. It's a really great feeling.
And you kind of have like big shoes to fill, because Spaces started with someone that at the time was not as big. Now like Vibhu now is massive. Do you want to tell us more or less the story before you, like how Spaces was created?
Sure.
And it's quite a little bit different from what is now, right?
Yeah, definitely. I can only speak to like what I know from Vibhu himself and like what I've seen, but because I wasn't involved back then. But yeah, it was started by Vibhu. He had a lot of experience in retail and kind of digital tech world, startup world. So he started Solana Spaces as more of like almost like a marketing, just like a pure marketing play for Solana itself, an onboarding portal for people. So there were two permanent locations, two permanent retail locations, one in New York City, one in Miami, that were just kind of, I always kind of compare it to like Capital One cafes, where it's like I don't know if you're familiar with those, but it's like a physical entry point into something. And for Solana Spaces, it was Solana. So you had a phantom wallet onboarding station, you had NFTs displayed on the walls, you had like co-working space, you had things like that, and then of course merchandise that was there. And I know that there were a lot of events that were held there that were bringing in people from Web2 industries and corporations to kind of just introduce them to the Solana ecosystem. But FTX was a big sponsor of theirs. So when FTX exploded, Solana Spaces, was a casualty of that. And so when he shut that down, he was, still had a great deal of affinity for it and believed in the concept. So fast forward to January of last year, somebody that he knew, OG from the Solana ecosystem, launched a meme coin on Pump Fund that was just like Solana Spaces. Like, remember Solana Spaces? That was a cool thing. Like, Vibhu was great. Like, retail was great. It's cool. Like, and it did what meme coins in the purest sense can do, which is it took on a life of its own. It ran to a 10 million market cap or something like that. It gathered organic attention. There was clearly like a demand and like an interest and a nostalgia for the brand. So Vibhu kind of started promoting it a little, not like promoting it, shilling it, but like he acknowledged it, talked about it. The dev sent him some of the supply. And so he was, he tweeted about it, and there was a CA, and I DM'd him. I was like, dude, did you get hacked? Like, why are you tweeting a CA? And he's like, no, I know the guy who did this. Like, it's legit. So a bunch of people who had taken notice of the token, like the meme coin, like got put into a group chat, and we were just kind of all shooting ideas around, and just very quickly that went from like, oh, this is cool, to like, hey, should we try this? Should we try to bring this back? And so myself and my now co-founder Amal just happened to be at a point in our respective careers where we had, you know, the flexibility to take on a new project. So we just hit the ground running, and, you know, that was mid to late January at that point. And by May we had sponsors and a venue, and we put on our first pop-up in you know, the span of a couple months. And so it was 0 to 60 very quickly. And you know, we've kind of just been sprinting from event to event since then. And that's one of the things that we've learned is, like, obviously starting earlier in your event planning makes things a lot easier. But yeah, it was a wild ride, and we're still here. The original dev is still on board. Like, he's still working with us. He's so we've come a long way, but we you know, still true to our roots.
And it's funny because I remember when Solana Spaces first started, I was like, oh my God, I want to go. I want to visit the locations. For me, like Solana Maxi, I was like, this is the place, is my Mecca. I have to go there one day. And then when it shut down, I was like, oh, no way, I never been there. Yeah. And then
I never got to go either, which is crazy. Yeah, I never got to see the original.
Was not that long. Well, it was 1 year or something that was on, something right? Like that, something like that. And then, because I don't know exactly the idea, but I think there was supposed to be a Solana Spaces DAO, and then they could start opening branches along, a bit like the super teams now are. Mm-hmm. I think the idea was a bit like that, right? Every country, every city should have their own.
Yeah, that was something that we had kind of thought about early on, and we had talked to Vibhu about too, of like, you know, the concept of a decentralized franchise and things like that. You know, it's still something that we could look into in the future. I mean, it was actually, people were talking about that in our Telegram chat recently. Yeah. Like, you know, I think there's merit to that. I think if there's demand, and we're seeing it too, like we've done some satellite pop-ups around the world, like with Superteam Summit in Germany, or Solana Summit in Germany. We sent some products there. The Superteam Brazil had a build station, a garage called the Garage. We sent some products down there. One of our artists lives in Malaysia. He just did a little outpost at you know, Malaysia Blockchain Week, and it's with Superteam Malaysia. So we have kind of dabbled in this, but in a much more casual way, I guess. And it seems to be something that is very well received when it happens. But I think it's just a matter of, like, you know, sadly everything comes down to ROI, and like if it's something that makes sense financially, and you know there's demand for it. I mean, we want to enable that community feeling around the world wherever we can, and you know we're certainly trying to do that in little ways. But yeah, down the line, I think there's certainly the opportunity to make it more of an official thing and a process, and a, you know, that people can go through to actually do this, you know, more properly.
And it's quite ironic now, because I see now with the AI boom, you see Cursor, like just open something in London, was completely packed, right? Where people would like sit and code, but it's not just to sit and code, it's to network. Is what Solana Spaces was supposed to be, right? And then Solana Spaces finishes, and then they do it. So it's kind of a bit ironic as well. But I think the Solana Spaces at the time was a more like to onboard new people, while what you guys now are trying to do is a bit more like a complement to already Solana enjoyers, let's say, right?
Yeah, I think that is kind of how it is morphed and evolved a little bit. I think we do still see a big opportunity to onboard people to crypto through the Solana culture. I think that it's something that had for a long time been a bit ignored, is that like there's super vibrant, really strong culture here, and you don't have to, you know, be interested in DeFi or something like that, or be really, you know, an engineer or a coder or something to be able to enjoy and appreciate what Solana can bring. Maybe not everything, but certainly some things. And so we wanted to create our events to be able to be enjoyed by anyone. So even if you don't know anything about Solana, you can walk into a pop-up and be like, this is cool. Like the vibes are good. Like those t-shirts are cool. That art is cool. Like what's going on here? And it's like, oh, okay, this is a Solana. I've heard of that. And, I think a big thing that we try to do is combat the negative stereotypes and the narrative around crypto in general being like a scam or this like cesspool of like racist, homophobic, misogynists. Like, it's a bunch of like degens in basements just being keyboard warriors and being toxic on the timeline. So we want to, if a Solana Spaces event is someone's first experience with Solana or crypto in general, like that's great. And if they don't interact with crypto for another 6 months, but then they read an article about, the Clarity Act or JP Morgan is doing an on-chain something, and it's like, okay, like they're not just automatically tuning out or automatically thinking of something negative. It's like, oh, I went to that event, it was really cool. So I think there's a lot of opportunity to do both. And we know that our core audience is still Solana enjoyers, but we don't want to be gatekeepy. We want to bring in people. We want to share what's cool about the space and what we love about it. And I think that there's a lot of stuff that is accessible to people, whether or not they know anything about crypto or Solana.
Yeah, and you talk a lot about culture, and so I assume like Solana Spaces is not just a merch stall, right? A gazebo with with a few t-shirts. It's much more than that, and we spoke about that in the beginning, like where it's a hub for people to network, to meet, to encounter old friends, right?
Sure.
How do you keep this vibe alive, let's say, when we have loads of institutions coming, where the core proposition of Web3 and crypto, let's call it crypto, it's kind of dying a little bit, right? Because before it was just for the degens, for the, like, I don't know, you have this punk mentality of I don't want to be institutions to touch my money, I want to be independent and stuff. And now we are going much to the institutions. How do you preserve that cultural background, let's say?
Yeah, I mean, like it's a sign of the space maturing, and at the end of the day, we're all here to see Solana win, or I think the majority of us are here to see crypto technology do the things that we all know it can do and enable the things that we all know it can do. And like a necessary part of that is institutional adoption and mainstream uses of the technology, and that I don't think that by any means needs to kill or squash the culture. I mean, like they can both coexist, just in the same way that you can have a coffee company and a tokenized dinosaur bone company on the same blockchain and same industry network as like any kind of like staking protocol or RPC nodes. Like there's the beauty of it is like you can build anything here, and there's a home for that, and that by nature offers a ripe environment for a very diverse culture. And so it doesn't need to be one or the other. It doesn't have to be a zero-sum game. And I think one of the cool things is like we've had institutions as sponsors and partners before. Like we at Breakpoint, we had Paxos and Bitwise. Like they were partners of ours, and like, but we've also partnered with Raposa and Soulflare, and we've partnered with Primates and Pudgy Penguins and Claynosaurs. Like there's such a wide range of personalities and identities, both individual and brands, that we embrace that. I think it's cool. I think it's great.
Okay, yeah, and it's funny that you you mentioned the partnerships, because I wanted to ask how do you choose them, or they choose you, and then what's the difference like between a partnership that is kind of organic and one that is, you see, that is forced and is like they paid to have you and there's no other way, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that like everybody's fighting for dollars in this industry, especially in a bear market. We like to partner with brands that appreciate the cultural side of things. They appreciate the role that the community plays in the success of the space, the success of the industry. Like I think there are plenty of companies out there that kind of ignore the community. And I think they're worse off for it. So people that can understand the role that we play and get that we understand the community really well. And one of the things that I think is unique to us, or maybe not unique to us, but that we do really well, is that, when we have partners come in and partner with us, like we really, first of all, try to understand, like, what's their goal? Like, what are they trying to get out of this? How can we make sure that we're doing that? Because the people that come, like at Breakpoint or Accelerate or one of the conferences, for example, people that are going to those conferences will seek out Solana Spaces. Like, it's a destination for them. They want to come. They want to see what products we have, like what kind of cool activations are we doing. Whereas if you sponsor a booth at a Breakpoint, and like some of them are great, and I totally understand it, but you're fighting for attention and eyeballs of everybody else that sponsored a booth there. When you choose to go to a specific booth at a Breakpoint, for example, you're psychologically already making that, taking that step of being like, okay, I'm going to go to this booth. I'm going to learn about this protocol. They're going to give me the spiel that they've given to 100 other people already. Maybe I'll get a cool pen.
Cool pen, yes.
But, and then it's just kind of like, it's transactional.
Yeah.
When people come to Solana Spaces, like they want to do that. They're already in a mindset where they're like willing to be engaged with. So you're already eliminating one hurdle of people to engage with the brand. And then on top of that, like every activation that we do, we try to make it, we create it in a way that makes sense for like the goals. And because we understand, the end users, like we can understand a bit more of like the incentive structures and things like that will draw them in, and we really try to optimize like the calls to action that we're trying to accomplish for the partners. So yeah, like going back to your point about we're more than just like a merch gazebo. We're essentially like a go-to-market agency. Like we're a brand partner. Like we want to help activate brands and pair them with users, like because we know their users really, really well. We know the demographic, and we know what resonates with them. So we want to be able to craft these experiences in a way that will be meaningful and memorable to the customers and the users at the end of the day. So yeah, that's kind of how we operate.
And I want to dwell a little bit on the Solana culture, because
Sure.
I assume that culture and Solana means different things for everybody, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone. But one thing I like about Solana is this mentality, like you said, like everyone is like, it seems like we are supporting one football club, right? It's yes. Our club, right? It's our team. Yes. Doesn't matter if I work here or there, but it's all the same thing. But what I want to ask you, what is it for you? Like, what is the culture layer of Solana? What does that mean for you in practice?
Yeah, I love that metaphor of like we're all rooting for the same football club. That's great, and I think that like you can't really put it any better than that. Like we're all in this together, and I think that's pretty unique to Solana. Like a lot of other chains and the communities that you see, it's adversarial. It's zero sum and all of that. Like with Solana, generally speaking, obviously there's exceptions, but we all. Like I've never worked in a space where it is so collaborative. Like everybody wants to help each other and is willing to help each other out. And there's partnerships left and right, and people like, running RefLink campaigns for each other and making content for each other. And it's just, there's a real sense of camaraderie and just, brother and sisterhood among people, especially that have been here for a long time. Like, people that have been here for a couple cycles, like we're all trauma bonded, like we're forged in the fires of so and I think that manifests itself in a lot of different ways. But I mean, like going back to the example of like two people that have known each other online for 2 years and never met in person, being able to just meet for the first time, give each other a big hug, and you're instantly with an old friend. We're all kind of in the same little secret society. So it's I think that's really the beauty of it. And like seeing your friends win is one of the most satisfying experiences, I think. And because we're all so close, and it's a relatively speaking a small space, like you get to see that more often in Solana than you do in maybe a lot of other ecosystems. So yeah.
There's something new happening on Solana, and you can hear it. Soul Radio is a 24/7 radio stream and original tracks only. No copies, no noise, just real vibes from the ecosystem. If you're part of the space, you need to hear this. Discover Soul Radio now at soulradio.fun.
You talk about the good side of crypto, but sadly we have the bad side of crypto where
Yep, for sure.
there's scams, there's issues, there's mismanagement, and then there's a lot of people that left, OGs that left because various reasons.
They'll be
also,
back.
oh, let's see, I hope. And then like even like Exchange Art, Finish, like so many big cultural entities, let's say, that made what Solana is today ending it quite. I don't know, what is your perspective on that? Did you just think it's cycles, or is it supposed to be like this? Or
I mean, it's a sad reality. Like you're gonna lose the good with the bad. I mean, yeah, when losing Exchange Art and a little bit before that Foster Marketplace too, like two great cultural platforms. Like Exchange Art was one of the original players in the art world in Solana, and it's I know JT, and I know like that broke his heart. It broke a lot of people's hearts to see it go down. But we do still have Mallow, which we're lucky to have, and a lot of those artists are here still. A lot of artists that were like made on Exchange Art and Foster and things like that were they're still here. They're still here creating art. They're working for projects. They're around, and like it's a sad reality of any space as it matures. Like people are gonna lose and people are gonna win, and I think a lot of the platforms that close down, like you see people from those companies latching on somewhere else, and I think that speaks again to like the collaborative nature, and like we're all one family, that we can mourn the loss of these things while still keeping an eye towards the future and helping pick up the pieces and trying to build what's next. I mean, JT's still here. He's got a gallery in the Lower East Side of New York where he's showing on-chain artists, and it's it's just an evolution, and it's a necessary evolution, and it is what it is. But I think that each of those, I don't want to say failed projects, but each of those sort of shuttered projects contributed in some way to the ecosystem, and we're better for it.
And do you think on the other side that are other projects that come with maybe a lot of capital and try to buy their way into the Solana culture kind of forced? Do you think that happens? And then do you have any, let's say, example, but is there anything that kind of
I mean, I think that I think a lot of the people can buy their way into Solana culture if they approach it in the right way. I think that there are a lot of realists among the hopiums around, people that are high on the hopium. Like, you understand that it takes capital to create a successful business a lot of times. And if people are entering the space with capital, if they're operating in good faith and they are trying to understand what's going on, they're trying to see what the community's into. Like I think a good example recently is DeLorean. I know like it's been kind of a rocky road for them for a lot of reasons, but having spoken to the team there, like they really want to create a lasting like foothold in Solana because they see the potential of the tech and they see the strength of the community. And like DeLorean itself is this like legendary IP, and it's fun to see a car at Breakpoint and all that kind of stuff. So I think that if you're approaching it with, you know, an open mind, like willing to learn, willing to be, you know, to be wrong on things, that's one thing. But if, you know, we've seen L1s and L2s come in that are just trying to throw a ton of VC money to, like, you know, have a bunch of parties and create like a culture around, you know, their chain, and it doesn't work. Like, it's, yeah, sure, there's hype for a couple months and then it dies off because, like, it's not real. Like, culture and community is, you know, I still maintain is Solana's most impenetrable moat, because, you know, the tech is great, but like, tech can be matched, right? There's going to be chains that can come in and do certain things, and you know, you see that with like Hyperliquid, for example, came in and just executed on perps really, really well. Solana is still capable of it, and there's still a you know, robust perps ecosystem here, but like, Hyperliquid is doing that one thing really, really well. But then, you know, Hyperliquid is starting to have a bit of a community, but like, there's no real like culture there yet. And I may get some hate from Hyperliquid maxis for saying that, but and I'm willing to be educated on that. But you know, you can't replicate what Solana has. Like, there are people that have been here for 5-6 years. There's you know, inside jokes that people are telling for, you know, from 4 years ago that like a lot of people will get the reference of and stuff. So it's just something that you cannot buy, you cannot replicate without just like living through it.
But why do you think is that is so prominent in Solana? Actually, I don't have an explanation, and I'm here since 2021. I don't know why.
I think a lot of it, you know, comes from NFT communities. Like, during the bull run, like, it was like a real, I think, because it was cheap, much cheaper than ETH, like, more people could experiment, more people could try it out, and like, you get a more diverse community because of that, because it's just more accessible. It's you know, there's less barriers for people to try it out, and so you got these really vibrant, really loud NFT communities, like, you know, 2021 to 2023 type, you know, area, that, you know, they all created their own little cultural identities and memes and like, personalities. But then, because Solana's small, there were a lot of people that were in multiple communities, right? So you have people that you start to see across communities, and I think that different like, major like memes and cultural touch points and events and things like that, like, you know, those start to take hold across the wider ecosystem. Everyone's interacting on the timeline, you know, people are rating posts, and like, it just kind of all starts to bleed together, and we're all like these little city states within a larger ecosystem. And I think, you know, people really took that seriously back in those days. Like, you know, the NFT communities were rabid, like, they were crazy. And, you know, I think that just eventually continued to crystallize into this robust culture. And I think because the people that were a part of those communities were just different and more diverse than like the ETH communities, I think it just kind of started to take hold. And I mean, I think that's kind of my like thesis for why the Solana culture is so strong. It was easier to get started in, and then because of that, it just attracted a more diverse pool of people that were able to just kind of enjoy it and like not take themselves too seriously and have fun and be a little weird and be a little degenny. And then, you know, with all of that, of course, comes like toxicity and a bunch of shittiness, but like, you know, you're going to get that anywhere.
Yeah, I actually thought you would say in real life events and merch.
That's how we keep it going now. I mean, early days, like, you know, and nobody was doxxed. Nobody wanted to go to events. Like, it was just this like weird thing, like, you know, internet friends with monkey pictures and stuff like that. But, you know, I mean, now, like, that is because, you know, the success of events now would not be possible without that, you know, that forged community. So I don't think they would exist without that.
Let's talk a little bit more specifically in the technical parts of the Solana Spaces. How do you make, for example, like the Solana Summerhouse happen from an idea to like so many people, and what are the challenges?
Yeah, it's a
walk
lot of
us
black
through.
magic. It's a lot of
Yeah,
black
black
magic.
magic.
No,
Yeah, exactly.
it's yeah, I mean, like, so you know, it comes down to having a very clear vision, and like we know what we want the event to be, and we know what we want, like the feelings that we want people to come away with. And so working backwards from that and really staying true to that has allowed us to craft the event in a way that feels authentic to us. And I think that trickles down to the community. We're really lucky to be partnered with Digital Spenders Club and Solana Foundation on it. Like, you know, everyone brings something different to the table. And, you know, we're kind of like a dream team when it comes to being able to put this on. And, you know, I think as with any event, like you got to get it paid for. So, you know, it's one thing to sell someone on the vision, and it's another thing to get them to open up their wallets. You know, we understand it's definitely a weird market, but, you know, we're confident that not just this event, but all of our events, but this event specifically is going to be legendary. And like the potential that we know it has is just, you know, mind boggling. So yeah, it's just a lot of juggling. It's a lot of calls. It's a lot of Telegram chats. It's a lot of, you know, let's hop on a call. It's a lot of here's my Calendly. You know, but it's just having those conversations, and, you know, you find people that share your vision and share your like desire to meet the community where they are, and give them what, you know, what they want. And I think that, you know, last year we put the event together in like 6 weeks, and it was, you know, from idea to reality was just like, you know, it was not happening until it was, and then we pulled it off and it went great. And so, you know, this year we've had a bit more time to plan. And so, yeah, we're really excited to see how people like it.
And then there's any event that you were very excited it almost happened and then in the end didn't happen, or normally everything goes until the end and some
I mean, we've never had to like pull the plug on an event. There's been plenty of things where we're like, hey, we should do this, like let's explore it, and then it doesn't necessarily work out. But yeah, you know, knock on wood, we haven't had to pull the plug on any events yet. So,
and then do you have any only possible on Solana moment that happened on the Solana Spaces that you kind of proud of or surprised?
There's I mean, two really stand out to me. One is, I don't know if you know the content creator Fluffy. At one of our very first pop-ups in New York City, like he was just starting out in Solana. He didn't know anybody. He had just kind of created the character of Fluffy. We didn't know him, but this guy shows up with like, you know, American flag overalls on. He's just like so outgoing, completely like, you know, and I say this in a good way, shameless. Like he doesn't care what people think about him. He is going to do his thing and be his true self. And like, you know, we were like, dude, come in, like do this, like do your thing, man. This is great. And like that was literally his first interaction with the Solana ecosystem. That was his first content that came out. And like, you know, we've known him for since then. Like he's one of my favorite people in the whole world. And like I knew from the very beginning that he was going to be a star. And like he's just so talented and so driven and so humble. And so like that is just something that makes me smile every time I think about it. Like how, you know, seeing his journey from that, like I can still see his act like that first day coming in, and then, you know, to where he is now, which is like, you know, so impressive. So that was like, that's one that's kind of like more of the heartwarming one. And then at Accelerate this past year, when we had 2 jackets that were stolen, just, you know, taken from our pop-up, and going from, you know, nobody seeing it to being able to not just like get the jackets back, but like use the Solana community to essentially like crowdsource and, you know, armchair detective the entire thing, piece it all together. We had people sending us content, like, you know, they're like, is that the guys in the background? Like we matched up security footage with like, you know, people shooting B-roll and content, and like we got them back. Like that was something that I just like, the power of Solana and the power of the community. It just like, it speaks to how close, how tight knit we are, and like how we look out for each other, and like the support that we got from that was absolutely insane. And like, it was so heartwarming, and like just like I'm so grateful for the support that we got there, and the fact that we got them back is just like
it's crazy,
like icing
right?
on the cake. Yeah, yeah.
It's crazy. Why? It's even crazier. Why would someone steal 2 jackets? What's even the purpose is like?
That's a conversation for another day. We tried to get the guys onto a Twitter space because like I talked to both of them, and they wouldn't do it, of course. But
yeah, of course. Is there any piece of merch that you are kind of proud of? Don't say the shoes, the sneakers.
Those were not us, I will say. Those bowling shoes were not ours. But no, the Solana pendant is one that I'm very, very proud of. This is the only gold one. I got one gold dipped. Wow. But that was and then the windbreaker jackets that we did at Breakpoint this past year were just really well received. People loved them. I think it was a unique product that very well executed. And so a high bar to meet every time we do a new drop. But yeah, those would be the two. And then of course our Just Build It shirts, like those are kind of like our iconic staple, the Just Build It shirts. But I mean, like luckily I'm pretty proud of everything we put out there.
I always go for the free one. So the free stuff on Breakpoint and stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah,
if I got some stuff.
We'll have to see. We'll have to get you to shell out. We'll give you a nice little discount. But I mean, like we try to take it up a notch from the general kind of conference giveaway swag. We want everything to be like a certain level of quality, a certain level of curated, and we want to be thoughtful about it, because a lot of people just treat merch as a box to be checked at a conference, and like it's wasteful. It's not like thought out. It's not deliberate. It's just something they feel like they have to do, and they don't put any thought into it. So I'm sure like secondhand shops are filled with crypto
Solana, crypto stuff. My wife is always another t-shirt, another Solana t-shirt. God's sake. It's like I'm sponsored by Solana. It's quite funny. And then how can the brands have their merch on Solana Spaces? What do they have to do?
Yeah, so I mean, just talk to us, reach out to us. Like, we're happy to curate products in our pop-ups. Like Breakpoint, it depends on where the events are too. Like it's obviously like shipping inventory is hard, depending on where you're going. Like Abu Dhabi, for example, was a logistical headache, let's say. But I mean, like we'll just reach out. Like we love to collaborate and talk about cool products and help kind of get those out there. So yeah, just reach out. We're happy to have a conversation about it.
I would love to have some Mindfolk traits as a merch. They are amazing.
I still love the Mindfolk art, man. That was such a good project.
Sick. It's still around.
Yeah.
So what is the future then for Solana Spaces? What's gonna happen next that you want to talk about?
So we have Solana Summerhouse August 29th in Los Angeles, and then looking ahead to Hacker House and Breakpoint in London. We'll have some activations at Hacker House and Breakpoint. So we're whether or not we're partnering with someone like in our actual space, like we like to help get creative. So anybody, even if you have a booth and you want some advice or help on crafting the activation, like we do that as well. And then we're also it's not like our forward identity as much, but we do brand consulting, go to market consulting as well. So we have some clients on the back end too that we're working with to help kind of get their projects out there.
Any free advice that you can give to someone that actually want to create merch and or put up in real life events, something that no one thinks about, and then you say like, this is really important, you should think about this? Anything?
I mean, I don't have any like crazy trade secrets or anything, but I mean, it's just really about listening to your customers, like listening to your users. Like you want to understand what their problems are and what they like. Like there's so many solutions out there without a problem, and that's not going to help anybody. Like you need to find out what problem you're solving, or like who you're speaking to, or like why is this going to be something that is appealing to someone, you just really need to do a lot of listening. And I think people don't do enough listening, and they think they have a great idea, but they don't really think about like what that's solving. So whether it's a brand or a product or, anything in between, like you really need to understand like who it's for and why they would use it.
That's good advice. Yeah. And then I had Daniel from Nomu before on another episode, and I'm sure you're familiar with it, and you are more or less on the same business, let's say. And it's hard, for example, because the crypto community in Solana, of course, it's so spread around the world, right? It's everyone is from everywhere. And then the problem that the brands face is when they want to release merch, the shipping costs, right? It's the time that takes and the prices, right? It's something that I assume that you deal with on a daily basis as well, right? Is anything that can solve this big problem that we have, apart from having like different apps that resell or resend those?
I mean, like, products? Shipping costs are going to be, that's one of the hardest things to figure out. And, there's not really like a cheat code for that. Like you said, I think people like Nomu are doing really cool things with supply chain and kind of automating that using AI and trying to find the best routes to optimize that kind of thing. I think, but really, it has to reflect the ecosystem itself. So like you said, it's very spread out, it's very diverse. So, if we can have these little outposts here and there where, we can start to have, like you said, people representing Solana Spaces or the ecosystem, people taking the initiative to create products and merch. Like, we're always happy to help make connections and facilitate and talk about designs. And even like, there have been times where we've, let people use our designs to create, to produce their own runs of things to sell in those areas. So I think that's probably where, we can make the most headway in terms of getting around like product shipping and things like that. But, there's really no way to shorten the distance between 2 points with physical products, at least.
Yeah. And then like you mentioned, we were talking on Telegram, and maybe Superteam could be the unlock of all these issues, right? If everyone could have a Solana Spaces in their own super team that could help with this logistics, would probably be amazing. Maybe an idea too.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, we love Superteam. We've worked with a lot of the different super teams, so I think there's definitely something to be done there for sure.
An idea for the JWs of the world to come up and make it happen.
For sure.
Anything else that you want to mention that I forgot to ask, or?
No, I mean, I think like I love talking about this. I love bull posting and talking about the Solana culture and the community. I'm so proud of like what it's become and what it represents. And, I'm honored and grateful every day to be able to work in this space and have conversations and work with people as interesting and diverse and cool as I do, yourself included. So
thank you. Yeah, and thank you so much for coming. It was an amazing conversation. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Chop, chop, the wood we carry. Chop, chop, never meant to bury. Fire runs through the grain. Nothing lost, nothing to claim. Chop, chop, keep it moving. Chop, chop, always flowing around the night. Voices arise in the dark. Truth survives.